The house I once cherished the most became the very place that made me question my own kindness. At first, everything was different. It was a 3-bedroom condo nestled in a quiet Portland, Oregon suburb. I bought it during my 10th year in the IT industry, a well-earned reward after countless late nights, behind a screen working through weekends and surviving nerve-wracking meetings with difficult clients. The living room was painted deep with large windows overlooking a tiny garden filled with pale lavender. I used to believe this would be my peaceful retreat every evening after work. Then one day the phone rang. It was Madison, my younger sister. Her voice was trembling slightly. "Charlotte, do you have a minute to talk?" I set my tea down, already sensing something was wrong. "What's going on, Will and I? We're in a bit of a tough spot. He was just laid off from the media firm, and I left my old job and haven't found a new one. It's been really hard, we haven't been able to find a place yet." I paused. Madison is 6 years younger than me, once the little blonde girl who'd cuddle beside me during Saturday morning cartoons. Always dreamy, soft-hearted, and gentle. Will, her husband, is the charming type, quick with a joke and always smiling. I took a deep breath. "So, you two need a place to stay for a while." Silence. Then Madison broke into tears. "I don't want to be a burden. But if it's possible, just 2 or 3 months tops. We'll find something soon, I promise." I didn't think twice. I considered myself fortunate, owning my place, holding a steady job, in a position to help. How could I turn my back on my own sister during a rough patch? All right. Move in this weekend. The upstairs bedroom is free. You can even use the basement living area if you need privacy. I could hear Madison exhale with relief through the phone. Will jumped in, his voice practically gleeful. "Charlotte, you're amazing. We're so grateful." "Will be no trouble at all," I smiled. After hanging up, I felt I had made the right choice. Family should help each other, especially in hard times. The first week passed quietly. They moved in on a drizzly Saturday. Madison brought a few potted plants and her bookshelf. Will busied himself setting up a separate Wi-Fi network in the basement to optimize his freelance marketing work. "You've seriously made this place feel like a 5-star hotel," Will joked as he looked around the room I'd set up with fresh linens and a welcome basket. I just laughed. I never needed grand thank yous. By the second week, they were home all day. Will said he was building a new TikTok channel for some activewear brand, while Madison was recharging before applying for new positions. By the third week, I noticed the mailbox piling up, the utility bills climbing, and the cloying scent of air freshener lingering in the hallway. Still, I reminded myself everyone needs time to adjust. A second month passed. Madison still hadn't landed a new job. Will claimed he was negotiating sponsorships, though I never saw any interviews. We rarely shared dinners anymore. I often came home late, drained from chasing deadlines, hoping for quiet. But there was always EDM, blasting from downstairs, or giggles behind the walls. One night, I went to the kitchen for water. The light was still on. Will was using my red KitchenAid mixer, my self-gift for a recent promotion. "Well, next time, can you clean the mixer after using it? There's hardened batter all over the blade." He shrugged and smirked. "Come on, Charlotte. We're family. Don't be such a boss about everything. Loosen up a bit." I froze. I couldn't tell what was worse, his tone, or the way he said family, like this house was shared. I said nothing. Just walked away, a strange tightness blooming in my chest. Was I being taken advantage of? Autumn came and went. Crimson maple leaves blanketed the walkway, but no one bothered sweeping. Will said it looked like a movie set, while Madison stayed busy editing her cozy winter decor tips videos in the living room, the space I used to read in every night. The house started changing into something unfamiliar. Laundry piled up. The fridge stayed empty even as grocery bills soared. The bathroom mirror fogged with smudges from someone's foundation. I once believed I could overlook the small things, but this had stretched far past temporary. One Wednesday night, I returned from a client meeting in Seattle. Nearly 9 p.m. The front door was unlocked. Kitchen lights blazing. Laughter floated up from the basement. I stood at the staircase looking down. Will and three strangers huddled around my gaming setup bought with my quarterly bonus. An unopened bottle of bourbon lay on the table. Snack wrappers, plastic cups, dirty socks scattered across the floor. Will, who are these people? I asked firm. He glanced up, grinning. Friends. They're just crashing a few nights while on tour. Your sister said it was cool. I turned to Madison, curled up with Netflix on the couch. She avoided my gaze. You didn't think to ask me first, they're just sleeping on the floor. It's not like it's a hotel. I turned away, pressure building behind my temples. My 3-bedroom home had become a free hostel for grown adults with zero boundaries. The next morning I checked my bank account. Since July, my utilities had nearly doubled. Will hadn't contributed a cent since August, yet bragged on Instagram about his new sneakers captioned "Investing in Style is investing in self." Madison had a pricey new vlog camera delivered to the door. On her story, she showed off my granite countertop kitchen, calling it her healthy breakfast creation zone. Not one mention of whose kitchen it was. I confided in Allison, my longtime coworker and college friend. She frowned. You're housing 2 grown adults with no lease, no move-out timeline. Isn't it odd how comfortable they've gotten, yet no one's planning an exit? Her words sat with me. I had hoped that with patience things would resolve on their own. Then something happened. One Saturday morning, I went into work early. Our company needed a demo ready for a Japanese client. I forgot my laptop charger and went home. The door, as always, wasn't locked. As I walked in, laughter echoed from my room. I opened the door. Madison stood in front of my mirror trying on clothes. My bed was covered with my dresses, including the black velvet suit I planned to wear for an interview next week. Will sat on the chair, filming it all on his phone. What are you doing? Madison jumped, pulling her hair clip off and scrambling to grab the dress. I was just trying it on for a bit. Just borrowing, no big deal. I didn't mess anything up. I stepped into the room feeling like all the heat had drained from my skin. The pillows were out of place. My perfume cabinet stood wide open. A bottle of Chanel No. 5 lay tipped over, nearly empty. This isn't borrowing. This is trespassing. Will got up, laughing dryly. Oh, come on, Charlotte. You're reacting like someone stole your stuff. She's your sister. Chill out a little. I didn't answer. I walked over to the desk and picked up my job application packet, creased and smudged with mascara. That was the final straw. That evening I went out. Beneath the warm yellow glow of our favorite old calf, I sat with Allison, clutching a cup of hot cocoa. I don't even know where to begin. I feel like I'm being drained a little more every single day. Charlotte, this isn't your sister asking for help during tough times anymore. This is squatting. This is entitlement. You need to take back control of your space. No one lives with others and acts like they own everything. I nodded. I faced the truth. I had enabled irresponsibility, dressed up as family love, for far too long. When I got home, I didn't go straight to my room. I stood quietly on the porch, the night breeze carrying the scent of dry leaves and freshly cut grass. Through the darkness, my house was still lit up, but it no longer felt like a safe place to me. I pulled out my phone and opened my work email. Created a new draft with no subject line. In the first line I typed, I'd like to consult a lawyer about a homeowner's rights when a tenant has no formal lease. Then I looked up. Through the living room window I saw Madison live streaming. She was using my phone tripod, standing in front of the bookshelf I built myself, talking about minimalist and independent living. I turned off the screen. Inside my chest, something cracked and also began to shift. Just slightly. But enough for me to know I wouldn't stay silent anymore. I used to think Christmas was the one time of year when every crack in the family could be patched over with twinkling lights and the scent of fresh cinnamon cookies. Every year we'd rent a log cabin near Lake Chelan in Washington, where the snow piled up to your ankles and morning started with the soft crackle of firewood in the hearth. I always started planning in October, dividing cooking groups, booking sled rentals, reserving Christmas dinner at the local restaurant, even knitting personalized sweaters with each person's name stitched on the left chest. That week, I stopped by a boutique downtown to pick up a chestnut-colored sweater for Madison and a deep gray one for Will. When I got home, I carefully laid them on their bed and opened my Google Doc to update the itinerary. I had a few small gift bags set aside, gold foil-wrapped imported hot chocolate, and a classic UNO deck. That Thursday afternoon, I got home earlier than usual because our company had just postponed the end-of-year client meeting to the following week. The streets were covered in dark maple leaves, and the fading light turned every window pane along the road a muted amber. As I stepped inside, I heard Madison and Will in the kitchen, cheerful and clear. "I still can't believe that Spa has an outdoor hot tub with a view of the Cascade Mountains," Madison said, excited. "Yeah, and it includes wine and fondue packages. You think your parents booked the Lakeview suite?" Yetwell replied. "Mom said they're saving the big suite for us," Madison laughed. "Charlotte would freak if she knew." I froze at the bottom of the stairs, still holding my key's throat suddenly dry like it had been packed with sand. I walked into the kitchen, trying to keep my voice level. "What are you two talking about?" Madison turned face draining of color. Will paused only briefly, then shrugged. "Christmas vacation. We thought you already knew." I looked at my sister. "This year's Christmas, it's not at the lake chillin' cabin." Madison looked at the floor. "Mom and Dad decided to change things up. We're going to Leavenworth this year. There's a new resort, more amenities than the old cabin. We, meaning you, Mom and Dad, will jumped in Charlotte. We thought you couldn't come." "You said something before about project deadlines in December, right?" I stared at Madison. "You told Mom I wouldn't be coming." Silence. I thought you always take control of every little detail. Everyone's exhausted. I figured you'd be happy to get a break this year." Each word scraped against my ears. "Exhausted because I planned everything so you could all enjoy it, because I thought through every meal, every activity, every person will cross his arms, and side you act like you're competing with the world all the time. Don't tell me you haven't noticed." I tilted my head back, forcing my breath not to shatter. That night, I called Mom. She picked up by the third ring. "Oh, Charlotte. I'm guessing Madison told you Leavenworth is gorgeous. I thought we could use a little change this year. A change. You planned a holiday with everyone except me. Don't make it a big deal, honey." "I thought you'd be too busy." "You're always so busy." I closed my eyes, lowered the phone for a few seconds, then raised it again. "Who suggested not inviting me?" Madison said you might need some space. "And honestly, you do tend to control everything." I figured this time could be a bit more relaxed. There it was, again, control. As if all the years I cared deeply about every family detail were nothing more than a burden they needed to shake off. I ended the call with a hollow chest. In the fridge, an open almond milk carton sat with its cap tossed nearby. My blurred reflection stared back from the metallic cabinet. I slid to the kitchen floor. I didn't even have the strength to cry. For 8 straight years, I had never missed a Christmas trip. Even the year I had knee surgery, I still drove up to the cabin with crutches just to bake Dad's favorite almond cookies. And yet this year, I was cut out of the picture, like an accessory that no longer matched the family aesthetic. Something too excessive. I didn't sleep that night. When the first morning light pierced through the curtains, I got up and stepped into the home office. On the desk was the checklist for Christmas prep. I hit delete, line by line. Even the peppermint scent in the diffuser felt sour. I opened my browser and searched for flights to Arizona. A new thought had just sparked. If they wanted a Christmas without Charlotte, I'd let them have it. But maybe it was time I had a Christmas free of their weight, too. On Monday morning, my phone buzzed while I waited for the elevator at the office. The caller ID lit up MOM. I let it ring until the 4th tone before I picked up. "Hi, Mom." "Charlotte, honey, I heard from Madison that you might overreacted about the trip. Are you okay?" Her voice was soft, but I caught that familiar undertone, half concern, half reproach. I let a beat pass. "Can you tell me when exactly the entire family decided to exclude me from the holiday plans?" Without asking me, there was a pause on the other end, then her tone gentled. "You're always busy. Every year you're like a project manager during the holidays. Everyone feels pressure." Your dad and I thought. Maybe you needed some space this year. So I'm too busy to be included in Christmas with the family. I let out a dry laugh. Even though I've been the one planning everything from cabins to gift wrapping for nearly a decade, you're blowing this out of proportion. I don't want to argue. I just want you to understand this isn't about excluding you. It's a gentle shift. No one wanted you to feel left out. I leaned against the wall. The LED lights in the office hallway made my forehead buzz. If no one wanted me to feel left out, why did everyone choose silence? She hesitated. Because everyone's afraid of how you'll react. You blow things up. You micromanage. Small things become big. That hit me square in the chest like a dull punch. So I deserve to be cut out of Christmas because I overreact, because I'm detail-oriented. The whole family gets to plan behind my back. Charlotte, don't spiral. You should see this as a chance to rest. You never stop moving. Everyone needs their own space. The words were gentle as cotton, but each one tightened around my throat. Do you even realize how many years I've let Madison have everything? The bigger room, the Brown scholarship because you said she's younger, you should give a little? And now me buying my own house is controlling and trying to preserve family traditions is ridiculous. Her voice stiffened into defense. I never said that. Not out loud. But you let everyone else say it. You stayed silent when I was blamed. You looked the other way when Will called me a drama queen. You smiled when Madison used my things without asking. The line grew heavy. I waited for an apology, a sign of ownership. But what I heard was you need to learn to let go. You work too much. You have no time for the family. Everyone's tired of living up to your standards. I hung up before my throat gave way to a scream. The hallway was just as bright. But something in me had shifted. That night, I got home late. It was drizzling. The kitchen smelled like burnt caramel. Dishes were stacked up high. In the living room, Madison was folding laundry on the rug I'd ordered from Copenhagen, now stained with shoe marks. You're back, who? She asked without looking up. I took off my coat, placed my keys on the table. So you know what happened, right? Madison stopped folding. If you mean the trip. Yeah, I know. Mom said you're being intense. Do you really think that, or did you just not want me there because I'd ruin your vibe? She looked up, her face eerily calm. You always make people feel small. Don't you see it every time you enter a room, the air changes? Everyone tenses. Are you being serious right now? You've got the big house, the great job, the fancy stuff. I'm tired of being your shadow. People see you as successful, and me, as what Will's unemployed wife. I stepped closer, hand resting on the chair. So your solution is to push me out of the holiday, so I fit the frame better, and the family supports this. Madison stood sweeping her hair back. You're not being excluded, Charlotte. You remove yourself by always having to be right. I let out a breath that wasn't quite a laugh. If being decent and responsible is too much, maybe I should lean into it harder. I left the room. In my head, fragments collided: the graduation ceremony, where our parents left early because Madison had a headache, my forgotten birthday, because Mom was babysitting her grandchild, the midnight call, when Will lost his wallet, and I wired him money without a word. I used to think family was unbreakable. Now I know some ties only last if one person keeps holding on. And that person is exhausted. By Saturday afternoon, I left the office earlier than expected. A client meeting in San Jose was canceled due to a snowstorm delaying their flight. I drove home hoping for a few hours of peace, brew some cinnamon tea, play some jazz, and finally close out that quarterly report. But as I turned onto my street, something was off. 3 unfamiliar cars were parked tight against the curb, blocking the garage. A pickup truck with a Crescent Catering decal sat sideways across the sidewalk. My front door was wide open. Light from the living room spilled onto the lawn like some event was happening. I hurried up the porch steps. Laughter and pop music pulsed from inside. As soon as I opened the door, the scent of waffles, wine, and cloying room spray hit me square in the face. At least 15 people were packed into the living room. My parents' distant relatives, Madison's friends, and even Will's former co-workers. The dining table had been dragged to the center of the room, covered in a red cloth and overflowing with buffet trays. In the corner, a white banner glittered in red letters, "Countdown to Leavenworth." I stood frozen. No one noticed me at first until my dad turned around. His smile faltered. "Oh, Charlotte, you're home early." I looked around. Madison wasn't in sight. My mom quickly stepped forward, wineglass in hand. "It's just a little get-together before the trip. Some holiday spirit, nothing more. Don't overthink it." I kept my voice steady. "Here in my house with catering I paid for with guests no one told me about." She avoided my gaze and whispered something to Aunt Helen instead. I walked further in, stepping over gift wrap scraps. Plastic cups, cookie crumbs, and greasy napkins littered the kitchen counter. From down the hallway, Madison's voice rang out sharp and cutting. If I hadn't pushed Charlotte out, we'd probably still have that Christmas spreadsheet. With dishwashing shifts, laughter erupted. I stepped into the hallway's entrance and stood silently. Madison turned mid-step and froze when she saw me. She was holding a plate of cranberry tarts, cheeks flushed, still mid-laugh. "Oh, you're back. We were just chatting about the trip." "What was that about a spreadsheet?" Madison raised an eyebrow. "It was just a joke. Everyone knows you plan things down to the minute like a G20 summit. Christmas doesn't need Excel, sis." Across the room, Will leaned against the fireplace holding a whiskey glass he must have taken from my locked cabinet. "Charlotte, relax. Everyone's having fun. No need to turn this into a meltdown." I walked straight into my office, the one I always kept locked because it held internal documents. The door was ajar. On the floor, a dark red wine stain had spread across the cream rug I'd ordered from Italy. My laptop sat askew on the desk. Nearby, a photo frame of me with the engineering team in Palo Alto had fallen face down, the glass shattered. Will poked his head in, chewing a tart, grinning. "Still tense like during your company's press conference." "Hi. Just wanted to show Uncle Robert some pictures of the resort. Your laptop was locked, so I grabbed the external drive." I turned to face him, trying to keep my voice even. "I've made it very clear, no one's allowed in here. That rug, the wine was reserved for Linda's graduation next month. And that laptop holds confidential client data." Will set his glass down without looking up from his phone. "Geez, it's just a party. Everyone here's family." Back in the living room, my mother was chatting with Aunt Sylvia about cedar-scented candles. I raised my voice. "Mom, you let all these people into my house, used my supplies, threw a party without telling me." She looked at me, lips pressed into a soft line. "We didn't think you'd be back so soon. Madison said you were working this weekend. Besides, it's your house. Yes, but we're a family, Charlotte. Everyone just wanted a little joy." "Is that what joy looks like, making me the invisible host?" My father set down his drink and sighed. "You're killing the mood. People are tired of the drama." I scanned the room. No one met my eyes. Some glanced away, others focused on their phones. A few gave nervous chuckles, like they were watching a reality show. I took a deep breath, my voice low but firm. "Everyone out of my house within 10 minutes. This party is over." Madison smirked. "See, she's always like this. Makes herself the center, then lashes out when the spotlight shifts." Will added, still not lifting his eyes, "It's just a rug. You're acting like the world's ending." I stepped to the front door and opened it wide. "Say what you want, but I'm not standing here to listen anymore." My mother stood up, shaking her head. "You always take things too far. You need to learn how to let go. And you need to learn to ask before bringing a crowd into someone else's home." I stood still, waiting as the last guest stepped off the porch. Madison walked past without a word. Will turned back slightly and muttered, "I think you're just jealous that no one sees you as the main character anymore." I closed the door and slid the bolt. A stain still bloomed on the rug. That deep red mark, impossible to erase, stared up at me like a warning. I turned on every light in the house, powered up my laptop, and opened the document folder containing real estate contract templates. Then I drafted an email with the subject line "Consultation, ending a month-to-month tenancy." My finger hovered over the send button. But my mind had already moved past that room. Something had snapped the moment they chose to throw a farewell party without me. The next morning, I drove straight to my usual coffee shop on 9th Street. Maya was already seated, elbow resting on the table, her espresso still steaming. Next to her sat Ethan, her boyfriend, and a civil attorney. He wore a charcoal sweater, his gaze sharp but kind enough for this delicate conversation. I sat down and handed over a USB with photos from the party and video footage from the office camera. Ethan nodded as he accepted it. I've reviewed the state law. In your case, without a formal lease, they're considered month-to-month tenants. All you need is a written notice 30 days in advance, no explanation required. I gripped the mug of tea in my hands. What if they refuse to leave, then we proceed with a civil eviction. But first, the notice has to be complete and legal. Maya leaned back in her chair. Her tone was steady. Charlotte, you've endured too much. This isn't about anger. It's about protecting your boundaries. I didn't reply, just nodded. That afternoon I wrote the notice. Each line was precise, no emotion, just clarity. I printed 3 copies, one sealed in an envelope, one emailed, and one scanned for Ethan. On Tuesday, I waited until Madison and Will had left with my parents to buy farewell gifts. I called a locksmith and replaced every lock, including the backyard gate. The alarm system got a new passcode. I packed with care clothes, personal items, medications, laptops, IDs. Everything was documented in photos and arranged into 4 large bins on the porch covered with waterproof tarps. On top, I taped the envelope with the formal notice. I added one more line: 30 days from today, July 16th. Please arrange pickup for the rest. The moment I locked the door, my heart pounded, not out of fear, but from sheer emptiness. It felt like a layer of dust, clinging for nearly a year, had finally been brushed off, revealing my space once again. Around 6 p.m., my phone rang nonstop. Madison's name flashed. I didn't answer. Then came the text: Charlotte, are you kidding me? Did you really change the locks, your REFUSING, to let us into OUR house? Then we'll... What the hell are you doing? This is illegal. We're going to sue. I sent back a single reply. I've issued proper notice. The deadline is January 15th. Your personal items are on the porch. Please do not enter the house again. Soon after, a call came from my mom. I let it ring to the last second. Her voicemail played. Charlotte, what are you doing? Madison is crying. Will is furious. They said you changed the locks and kicked them out in December. Have you lost all compassion? I opened Ethan's message. He had prepared the legal response file and confirmed I'd followed every step correctly. That night, while watching the news in the living room, I heard a car pull up. Through the curtain, I saw Madison in the yard, hands on her hips. Will stood beside her, yelling, Charlotte, get out here. You're not getting away with this. I didn't open the door. The lights were on, but I gave no response. Madison spotted the bins. She kicked one hard, wine spilling from inside. Will pulled out his phone, recording the whole thing while shouting profanities. I stood behind the door, phone in hand, ready to call the police if they tried to break in. After nearly 15 minutes of shouting, they loaded the bins into their car and left. I sat down on the floor, back against the wooden door. The noise faded. No footsteps. No pounding. Just the ticking of the clock. The house was silent again. I texted Maya. They came. Took their stuff. Didn't break in. I'm okay. She replied with a shield emoji and a heart. The next morning, messages poured in from numbers. I didn't save people I'd only ever seen at weddings or family meetings. Charlotte, I heard your sister's pregnant, and you still kicked them out. Merry Christmas. But honestly, I'm disappointed. Robert and Evelyn are heartbroken. Your mom's been crying for days. I flipped my phone face down on the table, my chest stone cold. Not one of them asked me anything. They only came to judge. 10 minutes later, Maya texted, have you seen Madison's Instagram? I opened her profile. She had once hidden her stories from me, and now everything was public. The photo showed Madison with her hand on her belly, standing in front of a wall lined with string lights. The caption in italics read, our first Christmas, even without a place to call home. But love, and this baby, will carry us through. Thank you to those who truly care. Family first, blessed a mom who never gives up. The comments were filled with hearts, tears, and outrage. Charlotte is ice cold. Kicked out while pregnant before Christmas. Who does that but the devil, poor girl? She sacrificed her job to help her sister. And now this, I didn't know whether to laugh or be angry. Madison had turned it all into a tragic monologue, casting me as the perfect villain. She hadn't mentioned being pregnant in any of our recent arguments. And now she used it as a public shield. My phone rang again. It was my cousin Brittany. Charlotte, I need to hear it from you. Is it true if it means I issued legal notice, gave 2 grown adults 30 days to move out after nearly a year of freeloading? Then yes. As for Madison being pregnant, I just found out through Instagram. Brittany sighed. Everyone's talking. I don't know what to believe. I let out a small laugh. Then let them believe whatever makes them feel better. I'm not arguing online. I ended the call, opened my account settings, and set everything to private. Anything I shared from now on would be for those who actually deserve to know. That afternoon, Maya dropped by with a big gift bag. She placed it on the table, almond cookies, a bottle of white wine, and a mini Christmas tree in a little tin pot. If you don't want to go to Ethan's parents' place tomorrow night, we're bringing Christmas here. I sank into the armchair, arms crossed. What did his parents say about all this? Maya glanced toward the window. Ethan's parents don't care about family drama. His mom only asked if you eat smoked meat. I laughed, a short, quiet laugh light as breath. We hung string lights on the wall together. Ethan arrived later with a neatly wrapped gift box and a few folders from the office. I want you to keep this, he said. It's a legal breakdown of your case just in case Will actually tries to take it to court. Nothing to worry about, just being prepared. I took it and nodded. Maya poured some wine and set 3 glasses on the table. Let's toast. To a Christmas without lies. I raised my glass, feeling like the storm had finally stepped away from the door. On Christmas morning, I woke to the soft sound of rain, tapping against the porch roof. No alarms, no loud voices downstairs. The house was quiet in a gentle way. I checked my phone and saw a message from Dad. Charlotte, you may not agree with your mom, but you're still my daughter. If you're hurting, I'm here to listen. I didn't reply right away. I set the phone down, stepped onto the porch, and took a deep breath of Seattle's damp, chilly morning air. By the afternoon, I went with Maya and Ethan to his parents' house. The smell of grilled meat, buttery corn, and cinnamon filled the room. No one cared about Madison. Not a hint of awkwardness. Judith, Ethan's mom, pulled me aside. Do you prefer rosehip tea or peppermint? Good. I just got a honey-infused blend from Vermont. Soothing for the throat. I smiled, warmth spreading in my chest. That night, I received an email from someone I hadn't expected, Ms. Anne, my high school American literature teacher. Charlotte, I came across a post that's been circulating. I don't know what's true, but I remember you as someone who never turned a blind eye to others. Sometimes setting boundaries is the most honest way we love ourselves. I read that sentence 3 times. No one in my family had ever said anything like that to me. The storm outside might still be brewing, but inside this little house, I was starting to see clear skies. My first session with the therapist took place in a room draped with moss-green linen curtains. The sofa was low, a small tea table held a vase of dried flowers. A wooden clock chimed every half hour. Dr. Lorraine, silver-haired, a dull silver ring on her finger, sat across from me, her clipboard bearing only a date. Charlotte, she said, if you're willing, tell me what feels the heaviest in your chest right now. I didn't need long. Always having to stay strong, just so no one thinks I'm selfish. Even though all this time I never once put myself first. She nodded, saying nothing. I began sharing detail by detail. Not with drama, but with the exhaustion that clings like old rubber bands stretched thin, always on the verge of snapping. Madison. My mother. The silent birthday party. I spoke without being interrupted, without eye rolls or sighs. By the 3rd session, she introduced a new method, the relationship blueprint. Write down the people in your life, she said in concentric circles. Closest to furthest. Put those who make you feel safe near the center. Those who make you feel suffocated further out. Label Y. At home, I took out paper and pen. Maya's name went in the center. Then Ethan. Ms. Anne. My coworkers followed. My dad landed in the third ring. My mom and Madison stayed on the edge. For the first time, I didn't feel guilty about putting them there. One afternoon in mid-January, my dad asked to meet at a cafe by Green Lake. He was already there, holding a cappuccino, eyes tired but steady. "How are you doing?" he asked. I pulled out a chair, leaving just enough space between us. "I'm learning how to be okay," she said. He paused for a moment. "I'm sorry I didn't put a stop to things sooner. I didn't think it would go this far. I thought you were strong enough to get through it." "Being strong doesn't mean having to endure everything," I replied. Dad nodded, then pulled a small envelope from his pocket. "This is an invitation to Madison's baby shower. You're not obligated to go, but I thought you should know." I took it without making any promises. When I got home, I placed the card into the drawer where I kept things that weren't painful enough to throw away, but not precious enough to keep close. The next day, I got a call from Aunt Catherine, my mother's older sister. Her voice was raspy, but warm. "Charlotte, if you're free this weekend, come over for dinner, will you? I heard some things from your mom, but I'd rather hear it directly from you." I thought about it for a moment, then agreed. She lived about a 30-minute drive away in a small apartment with oak floors and walls decorated with old paintings from my grandfather. She opened the door wearing a flour-dusted apron and hugged me without any fuss. "Your mom did the same thing to me when we were younger. Not out of malice, just because she was used to being the one who got everything. I understand that now. I learned not to repeat it. You're not alone." After dinner, she handed me a small box. Inside is a family photo album. There are a few shots I don't think you've seen. "Take it. When the world starts to feel gray, open it." That night, I lay in bed flipping through the pages. A photo of my mother at 19, eyes bright, standing beside my grandmother. A picture of baby Madison in my lap, clutching my shirt collar like she was afraid to fall. I sighed softly and closed the album. Memories could be beautiful, but they didn't have the right to keep us tethered to a present full of hurt. In February, I hosted a small dinner at my house. I invited Maya, Ethan, his mom, Judith, Aunt Catherine, and a few close friends from work. I hung warm string lights in the living room, played soft jazz, cooked the lasagna everyone loved, and laid out a brown linen tablecloth I'd picked up at a summer fair. Everyone brought something: red wine, apple pie, dried lavender, and stories that had nothing to do with Madison or my mom. Ethan talked about a case at court. Maya teased him for sounding like a TV lawyer. Judith asked about my job, her pride clear when I mentioned my proposal being selected for the new project. I stood at the kitchen counter, looking around people, laughing, clinking glasses, sharing recipes. No one was checking social media to see what labels had been thrown at me. No one asked why I'd changed. They just saw Charlotte quietly living as herself. At the end of the night, Judith hugged me tightly. "You don't need shed blood to have a family. You just need people who know what you're worth." After everyone left, I closed the door to a house still scented with vanilla and warm wood. On the table was a handwritten card. "Thank you for giving us a safe space." I placed it on the bookshelf next to the photo album Aunt Catherine had given me. Inside was a picture of 8-year-old Charlotte, genuinely smiling, holding a glass of milk, sitting in a room bathed in soft window light. Today I had found that room again. I had built it myself. Charlotte's story is a powerful reminder that kindness should never be mistaken for submission. When familial love becomes a tool for manipulation, setting boundaries isn't selfish. It's essential for preserving dignity and inner peace. Charlotte moved through betrayal and grief to redefine what family meant to her, a place of respect, care, and truth, even if it doesn't come from blood. It's a journey many in the real world are bravely walking today. What do you think about Charlotte's decision? Was she too harsh or completely right to protect her boundaries? Share your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget to follow the channel so you won't miss more moving stories about family and life.